let's go on a little journey of wayfinding. This is inspired by this book by Rebecca Solnit, and it's a field guide to getting lost. And you might ask, what does wayfinding have to do with getting lost? And Rebecca is an amazing writer. I highly recommend this book. It is super inspiring. And I made this segment for anyone who may be an awakening creator or an entrepreneur. And you know that some of the best ideas, some of the best ways are ideas that emerge out of what seems to be absolutely nothing more than simply an idea. And if you've been going through a transition yourself, maybe you've been feeling some uncertainty and you're really not sure what the next big thing is, whether that has to do with your wayfinding around your way of making an income or your health or your relationships, well, you're in the perfect place here, because wayfinding is a process to bring yourself through the unknown to find that way into the next big thing. And I like to compare this or contrast this with people who are expert at this. And these are our search and rescue people. And we've had these terrible tragedies go on in Texas recently, where the flooding has occurred and so many people have tragically lost their lives, and people are lost. And so the search and rescue teams are out there trying to find people who are lost or missing. And they are expert at this, and the reason why is oftentimes that they know how people get lost, particularly in the areas where I lived for many years in the mountains of Colorado. They know what happens and how people lose their ways. There is a certain sense to how it happens. And one of the quotes from Rebecca's book, it goes something like this, and it's from Menlo, it's an ancient philosopher, and it goes something like this, which is, how will you go about finding that thing, the nature of which is totally unknowable to you? And this speaks to this process of how it is that we find our way when we're uncertain, when we're not really sure the next thing. Maybe things are not working out, or maybe we're in a transition point, or maybe everything has fallen apart. And again, this could be in areas of work or health or relationship. It just happens. I've noticed this in my own life, that we seem to go through these transition points at certain places in our lives. And it seems to have a certain pattern to it. I've noticed that sometimes the astrologers call it the Saturn return, when we kind of lose our way, or things get they get shaken up. And if things are if our compass is not set correctly, we may find ourselves feeling challenged. And if that's you, I want to let you know that it's perfectly natural. Like I said, I've been through this process a few times in my life, and so that's part of the reason why this book, A Field Guide to Getting Lost, speaks to me, because I've been lost a few times, and I've become something of an expert wayfinder. And so I've got three suggestions if you're going through a process right now, if you're feeling a little uncertain about how things are, and you're looking to create some clarity to find that next way. Well, here's three things that I suggest. And the first thing, and these are all very counterintuitive, the first thing I say is to get out of your everyday environment, to get out of the routines and the actual environment where you live. And so that's why I oftentimes do this a few times of the year. So here I am in Laguna Beach for a chunk of time because I like to get out of my everyday environment and go to places that inspire me. And so going to the beach, going to the mountains, get into the forest and get out of your everyday environment. Make time for wayfinding. Make time for answers to come, for the totally unknowable thing to emerge out of what seems to be a nowhere. And even scientists like J. Robert Oppenheimer says that he recommends this, to live at the edge of the mystery, the boundary of the unknown. And I relate to this again, and particularly at moments in time when new things are emerging, when there is a calling. And again, that calling can seem like everything is fallen apart, or it could be more of a gentle bubbling up of something inside. Maybe there's even a question that you have about a particular thing that you're doing, or a direction that you're going in, or sometimes it can be as simple as taking a new class. You're like not sure, like, is this the way? This is the way-finding way. So first thing, get out of your everyday environment, go to a place where the unknown can make itself more readily available. The second thing that I recommend, and this comes from actually a funny place, from if you've ever watched the Seinfeld series, and George Costanza reaches a place like this in his life where he looks at his life and he's still living at home. All his relationships are a failure, and he has no job. And all of a sudden, the notion comes to him that, well, if whatever I'm doing is not working, what if I just do the opposite? And it's the most hilarious episode. But in that comedy, there is some wisdom. It is the wisdom of doing things differently. And so if you have been a person who does things logically, with order and predictability, you've followed the recipe, that your parents gave to you or society has given to you, well, how about trying the opposite of that? And this goes as well for people who are less structured, and maybe you're an artist and you've been doing everything totally unstructured. You've been just following your passion. Well, what if you, like George Costanza, do the opposite of that and try adding some logic into your process? Try doing the opposite of what you've been doing. And then the third thing that I recommend for wayfinding is to choose a guide. And I was traveling in Mexico myself recently, and I was in Playa del Carmen, and I know Playa del Carmen pretty well. It's a pretty structured city. It's built on a grid, and so the streets are on a grid, just like Manhattan is. So you kind of know, even though you can't, maybe you don't know the exact names and you can't read. It's all in Spanish, but still there's a structure to it. Well, I wanted to go down and to explore the Mayan ruins in Tulum. But I was a little uncertain about it because I'd heard, different things, and I didn't really know my way. And so what I did is I found a guide, and I went on to Airbnb experiences, and I found a guide who takes people down to the ruins, and she's a semi-professional anthropologist, archaeologist, and so she not only knows the way, like how to get there, but she also knows the history and Anyways, I hired her, and she took me and two other guys. We went on about a 4-hour adventure. We got to see the ruins. We got to go to a beach club. We got to go to a private cenote owned by a Mayan family. Now, I would have never known any of these things if I had not, hired a guide. And so this is the third thing that I recommend. There are professional wayfinders, and this is pretty close to what I do myself, because I've been through this process so many times in my life successfully. Have transitioned from sometimes what has been a challenging job, or even at one point in my life, built a company with over $12 million in sales. Everything was perfect, but I felt that calling to do something more, to have a greater impact in the world. And so I've developed these skills of wayfinding. Some of the frustrations that I find is that people sometimes will feel the pull for change, feel that calling for change, but not have clarity. And what you really want is you want to be able to find some edges of clarity so that you can create some certainty to take action. And it may not always be logical action, but if there's no clarity at all, it is very hard to generate the certainty to even take action. And the big mistake that I often see people make is to simply put it off and keep doing the same thing, like wake up every morning and doing the same thing in the same location. In my experience, that is a mistake, because like I said, there are methods for wayfinding and breaking out of that everyday pattern, trying the opposite, finding somebody who is a wayfinder who can help on that journey. And so remember, search and rescue teams, they know the journey. They know how people get lost, and they also know the terrain. And so the three things is to get out of your everyday environment, try doing the opposite, and then find a guide, find a wayfinder. If you've never worked with a mentor or a coach, you probably have, but in this area of wayfinding, this is what I particularly help people to do. And if you'd like to get some help with this, you're going to find a link right below this video where you can schedule an absolutely complimentary Pivot to Purpose Clarity Call. And it is complimentary, 15-minute call, and we can talk about the destination and where you would like to get to, and have a discussion about what may be in the way, what may need to be looked at differently, maybe getting out of your everyday environment and scheduling a retreat for yourself, maybe working with some other tools that are in the wayfinding kit to make that transition and to allow that thing that is calling to be brought forth from inside of you, so that you can bring it forward and really make the impact and the difference that you are called to make here in the world. So that's what I got here for you today. If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel so that you can get more updates on wayfinding. And share this with a friend, leave a comment down below, and I look forward to seeing you in a next segment. We'll see you soon.